Good morning, innovators. David Wright here, and I'm your host of the Disruptive Innovators Champions of Digital Business podcast, coming to you live from Dean Street Studios in Soho, London. And today I'm lucky enough to be joined by my friend Jessie. Jessie, pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you again.
Absolutely. Had some good times in Cambridge there, right?
Yeah, for Chime International.
Absolutely.
A very good week away.
100%. It's a great event. You should check it out, Chime CXO Summit. Shameless plug there. Jessie, for any of our listeners who may not be familiar with you, do you mind just introducing yourself, your current role, a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, perfect. So I'm Jessie Gungor. I am the Chief Nursing Information Officer at Central North West London Trust, which is a large community mental health trust. I'm a children's nurse by background, and I've done that for over 10 years prior to coming into this role. So my job is very much to support the clinical teams when we're building things digitally. So making sure that whatever is produced digitally actually works for our clinical staff, rather than building something that causes more challenges for staff on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, in catching up with Doug, and he's mentored me over the years, the emphasis on building out from the clinical teams, from the operational teams, like based on their vision and their challenges, and how is technology going to support to address that, better enabling and teaching them, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that you're going to be working on is primo. And there's actually been a lot of chatter about it, honestly, that I've witnessed. So it's kudos.
Yeah, and I think you can see with our organization as well, because Doug is clinical by background, he's our Chief Digital Information Officer. He's got that clinical insight, so he can truly understand what the digital team need to support clinicians, and then the way that he can then articulate that to the exec board to actually make sure that we not only have buy-in in digital and buy-in with the clinicians, but actually have buy-in from the execs, so we can actually build a really strong digital team that actually supports the organization, and then we can share that learning like across the country as well, which we've been doing, and it's very exciting. So
it is. And as you were talking, I was smiling because I just was recalling a story he told me about, riding his bicycle out to visit with patients out in the community. And like, I'm consistently impressed with, I was actually talking to someone yesterday about the community care and what you guys do in the UK from the standpoint of bringing care into the home and anyway, so it's great to have you here, Jessie. So I like to start each episode with just, if there were only one, I'm sure there will actually be a few, but if there were only one piece of actionable advice, what would you look to leave everyone with today?
I think it's important when you're thinking about digital, think about what your actual problem is. Don't try and think about the solution instantly, because we've seen it time and time again where you think about a solution and you think that's gonna like fix everything.
Yeah.
But actually all you're doing is adding a digital product to a broken process.
Yeah.
So if you identify what the problem is first, then we can actually work collaboratively to identify what the right solution will be for your team. And I think, like that would be a massive cost saving thing. It would reduce that change fatigue and hopefully actually get buy-in from staff to move forward with that digital project and product. So yeah.
It's great advice. It's challenging too, because I mean, particularly in the NHS, but this is true, across the pond as well. You see these capital, opportunities like leading up to the end of the year where like you can buy a product or a widget or whatever, right? And like hope that that's going to solve, but you don't necessarily, again, understand the problem or understand how you're going to address things operationally. You're just like trying to slap that point solution on the problem.
Yeah.
But the I think one of the underlying problems is that the way that monies are distributed make it more difficult to get sometimes maybe a different type of solution that might be recurring, that might be a slower roll. I don't know. It's there's some things there structurally that I think do feed into that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we all notice that, especially because you can identify a product, but actually you haven't had the time to really do that discovery of it to see if it is the right solution, but the money needs to be spent, right? But we are trying to look at that from a digital perspective and trying to forward plan a bit better. So rather than just going from year to year, actually look over an 18-month period to see what is in our pipeline so we can be better prepared if these things come up. So we have already done that discovery work and we know what we require, rather than at the very last minute trying to be like, oh, we've suddenly got money, what can we do with it? So we are, as a team, we're whilst directors and Doug are looking at the strategy, seeing how we can actually improve that so it's actually more efficient moving forward, so that we can better prepare for things like that. So, and then actually trying to work with the organization as well, because I think another big thing is there's a lot of silo working. So sometimes you don't know what a team is bringing in or what they're doing. So we're very much trying to work more collaboratively across the organization, work with our different services to understand what do you already have, what are you wanting,
right?
So that it can be all fed through. If it's from a digital lens, it can all come through our team. So then there's not duplication, or there's not very similar products out there. Like, how can we standardize it and do cost saving from that perspective as well? So
incredibly important, especially today, now more than ever. We see in the kind of enterprise application space a platform that can do A, B, C, and D, a platform that can do B, C, D, and E, another platform that can do C, D. I mean, you get my point, right? And what should live where, and why? Where should my knowledge live? Where should clinical data live? Obvious, but like, there's a lot of other aspects, and if you're not having those conversations, it's very easy for these little projects to spin up, or worse yet, right? Vendors that specialize in revenue cycle automation coming in and, like, you know, selling to that team or selling to the access team or selling to the clinic, like, whatever it might be, and then you end up in these cycle, like, with these like appendages, basically, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to make sure you have the right stakeholders in the room when those conversations are being had, because it's very easy for a team to be sold a product that fixes everything, but actually does it integrate with the system, which we know so many products don't integrate with the system, but they, like, you can be sold the world, but then actually if you then purchase it, what impact does that have on a digital team to actually implement that? And I think sometimes we forget how much goes into what the digital team do and what the developers do and the config teams are doing. And so I think trying to get that knowledge out there as well of what their roles are and what it actually looks like may actually benefit, like, clinicians to actually think a bit more holistically about the products they're choosing and actually do that background checking. Bring the team in, bring the digital team in and say, does this actually work? Does it integrate? Would it be supported in our services? I think that's really important, and something I don't think has happened previously, because it's normally a vendor will talk to a clinician that they know, the clinician loves it, then they're like, okay, yeah, let's go for it. But it's that communication piece, isn't it? And
well, and I think it's communication. It's also like respect and belief that that team is working in the interest of those individuals, right? So I think a lot of the times, if you're not spending the time to do the kind of like rah type of stuff that a leader like yours knows how to do, right? It can very easily be us versus them, and not like in a adversarial way, but just in such a way that, like you mentioned, there ends up being silos and decisions being made, and then you're just dealing with the aftermath, basically.
And I think that's what's great about our team is, so we have a chief medical information officer who works with our medical teams. We've got a chief pharmacy information officer who works obviously in the pharmacy space, so all of our EPMA products like electronic prescribing and things, and then myself, and I cover nurses and allied health professionals within the organization. So it's really trying to make sure that we're reaching all of our audiences, and that also captures our administrative staff, our healthcare support workers, our corporate staff. They're still involved, although we don't have a specific CXIO for that, all three of us still work with those teams and support those teams in those conversations too, because we recognize the importance of that cross collaboration.
Yeah. And I think it's great to have you guys as clinical leaders, because you can kind of draw from that experience to better relate and identify with the folks that you're looking to enroll in these types of initiatives and things of that nature. So Jessie, let's talk a little bit though about your origin story.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, how you started out. I mean, you're a fairly young guy, CNIO. Congrats, by the way. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
But yeah, how you started out and how you got to the point that you're at in your career today.
Yeah. So I kind of always knew I wanted to go into healthcare because I'm partially deaf in my right ear. So I spent a lot of time in hospital, receiving good care and not so good care. And so I knew that I wanted to go into a space where I could better be that nurse that would support our patients and actually be that good nurse that I've seen, and I wanted to give that back. So then I worked clinically in various areas in the NHS. I also worked in Qatar and supported the opening of a children's hospital.
Oh, wow.
And worked there clinically for 3 years. And then whilst I was there, we were using a lot of digital systems, and it was an Americanized hospital. So their processes were very different to how the NHS works. And so there was a lot of quality improvement. It was a lot about how can we keep making our services better for our patients. And so I took that knowledge back with me when I came back to the UK. And I worked at Great Ormond Street clinically to begin with. But then I recognised that actually there was still a lot of challenges and pressures for staff. So I ended up doing a master's in public health to actually look at how can we better support staff who do shift work, because actually they're overworked sometimes, they're on shift, so the sleep patterns are challenging, which then leads to increased mental health issues and other medical health conditions that can come from it.
Right.
And so I kind of realized in that time frame that actually I wanted to step out of the clinical space, because I realized what was needed was we need to better support our clinicians so that they can feel valued and improve their well-being, so we can then actually improve the care that we provide to our patients.
Sure.
And so on that journey, I went into quality improvement. So we've done quite a lot with the digital teams, where we were looking how could we improve digital processes with quality improvement. So was able to improve timeliness of documentation, reduce ICU admissions, look at sort of health inequalities of our patients, because a lot of the terminology we use is more catered to white Caucasian skin tones rather than our wider community and population. So a lot of my work was in that space, looking at how we improve the digital system to then support our patients better. I then went on to lead adolescent health and healthcare transition at Great Ormond Street. So that's for patients 12 and over, moving into adult services with long-term health conditions. And it was a very fragmented service where patients could have more than 5 health conditions.
Right.
And so they'd go to 5 different hospitals for their care as an adult. And so I wanted to look at how could we build a system in our electronic health record where it was a standardized place for all patients from 12 and over, for all their documentation to be recorded in one area, so that as they progress over the years, it becomes a collaborative documentation between patients and healthcare professionals. And at the end, you can then do a summary report and it would automatically produce that, which then meant that you had a summary report you could provide to all healthcare providers, and hopefully reduce the number of hospitals a patient would be transferred to as well. Which was really successful. We also implemented it into the patient app so they could document their own thoughts and feelings, which would then contribute to their own health record too. And then I also have always done a lot of education.
Right.
And so I developed e-learning modules and managed to develop a sort of e-learning module that had 70% completion rates within the first 6 months for a non-mandatory course, which showed, because I'd done that baseline work of understanding what staff wanted and needed,
Right.
then could produce a tool that
They wanted to.
Yeah. And then they actually utilized, and it clearly had benefit. And so that was kind of where my passion was. I knew that there was really good tools and resource in digital that we could maximize to benefit staff, clinicians, and patients, and also provide the right education materials to support staff based on what their needs are.
Right.
And so after that, I then went on to become a program manager with the Children's Hospital Alliance. So I worked with 13 acute children's hospitals in the UK, looking at fragile services. So services on the brink of collapse due to like funding, resourcing, staffing. And so my role was to bring those 13 hospitals with the 3 separate services together to sort of, one, produce sort of a standardized approach to care delivery across the different organizations, but then also work collaboratively to advocate for those services to sort of like medical training boards, to Parliament, to actually get their voices heard so they could get the right support in place to actually support their patients better, because they're very needed services that are undervalued because they're not seen as the sort of front-facing services, so they don't get the same support and resource and funding as other services do.
Right.
So I really loved that, and I loved the fact that I could work more strategically across the UK. But I recognised that I was missing my passion of being in a hospital space, working with clinicians on a day-to-day basis, and actually making improvements in services.
Right.
Which is then when I came into this role in October last year, where, I mean, it's been a whirlwind of a journey. It's only been, 8 months, and I've learnt so much and done so much already. But it's just, really recognised for me that I love sort of working in that digital space, but also supporting that clinician voice again, and actually supporting the well-being of clinicians by using the digital tools appropriately. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. Very cool. One question that comes to mind, Jesse, would be, over the course of your journey, what would you say is one of the most important things that you learned along the way?
I think it's never too late to try something new. I think you, especially as a nurse, you go into nursing and you think you have to stay clinical because that's kind of the journey that you've you've gone to university for it, and you think you need to stay clinical to be a nurse. But actually, as we continue to expand in healthcare, so many more jobs and opportunities are coming up, and there's so many different avenues that you can take now.
Yeah.
That I think it's like, if you want to try something new, try it. If you are interested in digital, speak to the digital team, see if there's any sort of courses that you can do, if there's any projects you can be involved in, and dip your toes in the water and see what you think to it.
Yeah.
You don't have to just stick to your normal day-to-day work. And I think some people are like, well, that's it's outside the scope of what my job is. But actually, if it's a passion for you, try it. Because if you try it and you don't like it, then that's fine. You can give it up. But if you never try it, then you're never going to know what you could progress into. And I've seen so many people try new things, find that passion for it, and progress and develop in a new way. And I think it's underrated trying new things. So yeah, that would be my advice for sure.
Love that. Well, I think it takes courage, because people inherently, I myself, we can fear change, right? So the courage is in, feeling the fear and then doing it anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I love what you're saying though about you see something, you see the optionality or the potential in it, go get it.
Yeah.
You have and as an entrepreneur, that's been the lifeblood of everything I do. It's if we want to do something, I mean, look at even working in the UK, years ago, it was a twinkle in my eye, right? And since then we've had to spin up an international LTD and, join a framework and do jump through all these hoops that would just appear. But it was just okay, as we go, all right, what's the next right thing? Let's go figure it out. And to your point, I really love the work that I get to do, and I've enjoyed the journey. So it made it that much easier to lean into it. But it is scary,
Oh, for sure.
starting something new. And, I think one of the things that I've been able to do that's helpful is getting my imposter syndrome and my fear of failure largely in check, where I'll have kind of natural fear or anxiety that will come, and I've learned how to like notice it and walk through it. And I'm not today like I can own my value, right?
Yeah.
And not be a big shot, like not use my ego to cover up feelings of insecurity, and not be a piece of shit either. I can kind of be right sized.
Yeah, I was actually gonna, as you were talking, I started thinking about imposter syndrome as well, and I think it's something not spoken about often. I think it's becoming
right?
more and more common now, but I think especially in the senior like leadership space, I think it's still kind of a new conversation for some people. But I think imposter syndrome happens to so many people, and yes, it is scary and daunting, but like it's something that if you recognize that you've got it, there's tools and mechanisms out there that you can use to support, and you can recognize when you're starting to have those imposter thoughts. And there's always people around that you can chat with. Like you can either talk to your manager or someone else that you're really close with at work if you've got those sort of challenges, or even just like journal it.
Right.
I think sort of ChatGPT is a great sort of reflection tool for me. When I've got my imposter syndrome thoughts, I document it in there, and then then I can do like a review of how I'm doing to actually see what progress I've made over time. So then actually it's like me seeing the work that I've done visibly and actually recognizing it, and it's massively helped with my imposter syndrome. But then I've also got ADHD and I've got rejection sensitivity dysphoria. So I think although it's more intense than imposter syndrome, it's a bit similar as well. I've started to notice when things trigger me because I'm like, oh, actually, I can't do that. Like, what if people don't like it? Or, oh, I've done, because I'm going against the grain, maybe.
Right.
But actually, if it's for your own career and you truly believe in it, then you need to try. And there will be people out there. If one person says no, someone else might say yes. So go speak to other people in the organization and ask for a mentor, ask for support, and find those people that can support you.
Yeah.
And then also just try to reflect on what things do trigger you with your imposter syndrome or your RSD, so that you can start to work through that a bit. Yeah.
I will say, to great advice. It's interesting because I was catching up with a CIO of large academic health system in the States a few months ago, and we were just bullshitting. I forget exactly what we were talking about, but we got to talking about organizational change management and leadership in general, and the fact that, as a leader, when I have my team, each individual responds differently to leadership. So like the way that I show up for different people, like I have to be mindful of the how messaging or how communication or how leadership resonates with them, because they might need it delivered in a different way. Now, as an executive with a team of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, that can be challenging, right? But you will always have a subset of direct reports that, as a leader, it's my responsibility to take the time to understand how to best communicate with them.
For sure.
Now, we were talking about the fact that nowadays, people of our generation, more than any, but even Gen X and later, like there is a bigger emphasis on the social aspects or mental health aspects of work, and like how people are showing up. And like I've said this on the podcast before, like some of my biggest strides in leadership and business, like the success that I've experienced, were due to me investing time in my mental health and my personal wellness and all of that, right? Like, because it just opened up that much more. And basically the CIO was just saying how like it was, I forget if he said like, but basically like uncomfortable for him because it was a muscle he had never worked before. Because it was just like back in the day, you just pushed all your shit down. You're definitely not talking about your like feelings at work,
Yeah.
and like just keep it moving. But that's just like, it's everything's like a time bomb, So
Yeah, and I think it's really important to make sure that you like separate your work and your personal life in a space so you've got good work-life balance.
Sure.
Because otherwise you can become really overwhelmed and struggle. But then I think as a leader, it's really important to be checking in with your team to make sure, like, to check in how they're doing and try to build up that sort of that safe space for them where if they want to talk about personal life with you, then they can. Because actually, if they're going through something, it's going to impact their work, and vice versa. If their work's too overwhelming and they've got too much going on and they just feel like they're struggling, like as a leader, you should be able to have that safe space and conversation to see how you can better support them, and see actually is there too much work or is there some adaptations that need to be made in the workspace. And one thing we're really good at as a team is we have supervision on a monthly basis. So it means that it's a safe space for us to have a monthly check-in with our manager to actually just talk about whatever we want to talk about, whether it's work, whether it's personal stuff, whether it's annual leave or whatever. But it just gives that safe space to just talk and see how they can better support you.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a great thing that we do in the NHS. I think most NHS organisations have some form of supervision, and it might vary on timeframes of how frequently. But I think it's a good tool to just make sure that you're checking in with your teams and actually helping them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I love learning about little things that you guys do in the NHS. I mean, there's so many things that you guys do so well, and that sounds like one of them. And I think that as a leader, if you're having those like slightly more intimate conversations, I'd say with your people, that they're that much more apt to follow you when we're trying to affect this kind of change in a digital space. So it does all link back to business outcomes and like these digital transformation and all of that. So it's not like that stuff. I think it's worth talking about, basically.
Yeah. Well, if you talk about it and you make it a safe space on a frequent basis, then you have that opportunity to have those discussions very early on so that it can be resolved before it becomes something larger. Because actually, it may lead to burnout, it may lead to time off sick, it may lead to low staff retention rates because the work is just unmanageable. So there's lots of impacts that could happen if we don't actually take the time and invest in our staff and actually support our staff and look out for them and ensure their well-being is paramount. And if we just do those small, simple things of having a regular check-in and a conversation and like making them feel like it's a safe space to open up, like it has massive benefits for teams and organizations because they're going to be more productive. They're going to feel supported. They're going to feel they can come with new ideas because they know that it's a safe space to bring new innovative thoughts to the conversation, right? So I think that to me that's like really important, the well-being of our staff.
Yeah. So Jessie, it sounds like, I mean, you've done a lot of work. You've like done a lot to get to where you're at in your career today, especially given like some of the obstacles that were in front of you at a young age. For me, some of my biggest growth came out of times where, I was in a rut, personally, professionally, or otherwise. Is there a time that either you had a project fail or you had a personal hardship or some type of catalyst, but that you ultimately took away or came out of it kind of with a new perspective or a profound change or, something shifted for you because you walked through something like that?
I guess there's been so many, many times. But I would say, so over the past couple of years, my jobs have been fixed term contracts. So obviously when you were talking about that sort of end of year spending, it's very much they've got the money, but has to all be spent within the year. So it's 1 year contracts that take place. So I was on a couple of those, which then the money had ended. And so obviously with my RSD, even though I knew it was to do with the money, I still took that as a personal thing of they don't want me anymore. But actually it was they just financially can't. So for me, it was like I used those opportunities. In the moment, I was devastated. I was like, what can I do better in my next job? How can I improve? And so each time I was then reflecting on that and seeing what could I do differently and how could I sort of step up and level up the way that I articulate myself, the way that I deliver my work, the way that I communicate with stakeholders, and just continually build that knowledge base up, which I think in the moment always felt very stressful. But now I actually reflect on it, being in this job, and like you said, I'm very young to be in the role I'm in, but actually had it not been for all of those components of setbacks or jobs ending, I wouldn't have gone into a new job where I went to learn brand new skills that like have all managed to get me to this role. Like had I not have had all of those jobs previously, I never would have been in the position to take on this job, right? So it's like in hindsight, all of those components were the best thing for me because now I'm in a job that I love doing and with a great team, and done it at a young age. So I'm very fortunate, but I had to go through those hardships and those setbacks to really reflect on myself, make those improvements, step into an unknown, and now get to this position. So, hopefully that answered.
No, absolutely. I mean, the kind of journey that you described and the lessons that we learn, and you know, so many people have gone on the podcast over the years, and they like when I ask them about their journey, they're like, "Oh, it wasn't linear," or it was I forget how they describe it, but basically that like what I found is like the more that I can lean into whatever the next right thing is, and it may be uncomfortable, I may be over my skis a little bit, but just like lean into that and kind of like follow the will of the universe, if you will. Which I don't want to get woo-woo, but it's been a crazy journey. So it resonates with me. And the other thing that I've experienced, right, is in my 20s, I'd hate being uncomfortable. Just like difficult situations, like you mentioned, like the kind of rejection of like, whatever it might be, or just going through difficult conversations at work, or I used to push that away at all costs, like, or just try to numb that out. And in nowadays, like, being sober, like being present and all of that, being able to sit through uncomfortability and just like experience it, know it's temporary, like all of those things that you mentioned that you went through over the course of your journey then become a reference, so that even if your initial thought is like, danger, whatever the like rote kind of thought, it like you can be like, oh yeah, like I went through this, like I don't have to freak out, like what's the next right action, like let me move through this.
But then equally, like every part of your journey makes you so uniquely you that like no one else can do what you can do. And there'll be like the job that you go into, you've got that job because you have a unique set of skills and qualities that no one else has. And so I think, yes, sit in that uncomfortability, but actually when you get out the other side of it, it's going to make you grow into a person that just makes you more unique, that like
100%.
Just that will be your selling point, right? That's who you are, and no one else can do what you do. But you have to go through those uncomfortable elements to get there, because it's all about that growth, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, like today, I probably have like 20 different uncomfortable situations that I'm dealing. You know what I mean? As I've scaled like the businesses that I work on. So today I laugh and smile about it because, and they're not really as uncomfortable. They're difficult situations and like, but if the younger me would have been like spinning around on a top.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm the same. For me, like I said earlier, this is my first time doing a podcast properly.
is it?
In this setting, yeah.
Nice.
And before coming, it was very uncomfortable because I was like, what is it like? What do I do? How do I act? But then actually, younger me would have very much been the same. I would have been anxious. I would have been stressed. I probably would have been a bit more stiff and not as smiley.
Right.
But then actually, because of all my experiences, like, it's actually quite a comfortable conversation, right? And yes, it felt a bit uncomfortable, but then I'm doing it, and actually it's not bad at all, right? So it's those learning opportunities, which, yeah.
Good. So you've been at CNWL for 8 months now?
Yeah, 8 or 9.
8 or 9 months, CNIO role. We discussed some of the stuff that you guys have accomplished recently. So let's talk just a little bit more about your vision for the future, or like your vision as is derived from the overarching mission of the organization, and maybe some of the key initiatives that you guys are looking to work on here in the future.
Yeah. So I guess my biggest thing is building a digitally literate workforce.
Right.
But then also a passion of mine is also thinking about digital inequalities. So not only our workforce, but how do we also support our population that we serve to?
Sure.
Because as we progress digitally, they're going to be impacted, right?
Yeah.
If they don't have technology, if they don't have Wi-Fi, if they don't know how to use the technology, how are we ensuring that they're still going to be supported as we continually progress digitally? So that's one big passion of mine. But then from a workforce perspective, I think it's really important to think about our digital capability and how we actually improve our workforce's digital knowledge. So I've recently launched a Digital Impact Fellowship that is in affiliation with NHS Digital Academy and Chime International, and accredited with the Federation of Informatic Professionals. So we launched in March the course, and it was really successful. We had 24 applications, or 24 applicants, and we within the course they followed a double diamond methodology, and they come with project ideas, and we whittled those ideas down to 3. So they do a hackathon to actually build the product with our subject matter experts. So we had one that focused on the electronic health record system, one that was around AI and Power Apps, and then one around business intelligence and reporting. So 3 separate groups, and so 8 people were within each project. And so they followed the double diamond methodology through, and then those products go live for a pilot. And then we do an evaluation at the end to see whether they worked, if there's benefit to them, can we scale it up, or actually do we say no because it's not right? So that was like a really exciting thing that we've done. We we completed cohort 1 at the beginning of the month, and we've had such good feedback. People, like, we want to create digital leaders, and from it, 2 doctors got awards. One physiotherapist was published in a magazine. One of the nurses, or 2 nurses, were accepted to go to a conference in Glasgow to present on the product that they developed. So like we've already, in such a short period of time, can already see the great things that are happening from our participants.
And that's out of that group of 24.
Yeah. So that's what, 5 people out of 24 already, and we only finished 2 weeks ago. So much more is going to come. Like, we can already see that. We've just launched cohort 2, and we tripled our volume of applications for cohort 2 because of the word of mouth of how well the course was received. So it's been a really exciting thing. So now we're trying to progress that further to how can we do different tiers. So tier 1 is very much looking at how can we improve the Microsoft skills, using computers, using the electronic health record systems, and working collaboratively as a tri-trust with our other West London organisations. And so that's a big, exciting piece of work that we're doing currently. And then we're also going to do like a tier 2 because we recognise that there's a gap in the middle there of how can we give you sort of advanced knowledge before coming on to that 5-month course, so that you've actually got that baseline information first to support you in digital. And I think if we improve people's knowledge and capabilities, then they'll better understand how we work as a digital team. It will mean that there's sort of better workflows in the future. We'll have those digital leaders that can support with our digital products and projects, advocate for digital, and support their teams as well. And I think we say that a digital leader doesn't have to be someone senior, it's anyone. So we've had a complete mix of admin staff, allied health professionals, nurses, corporate staff, clinical staff, paramedics, pharmacy. So it's a complete mixed bag of staff that we've had, because anyone can be a digital leader. If you've got that passion, if you've got that drive, you can lead the change in digital. So
I love that you guys are championing that, because it's truer now more than ever. That, and it reminds me of this book my friend Rachel Lockett wrote called "The Technology Doesn't Matter." Basically, that like it's actually more valuable as an administrator, as a clinician, as a whatever, to bring that experience of the difficulties with a workflow or the challenges that you've faced in that role, and to be able to learn and understand what these digital solutions can do, and then be able to really think about like, oh, it can do that. Well, that could solve for this, right?
Yeah.
Those are the types of people we need involved in these conversations, because they've lived the problem, or and then it goes back to what you said before, like understanding the problem. Right?
Exactly. And like if they can then support, because they've also got that digital knowledge, they can then support teams to identify those problems and actually try to work through that process with them,
right,
so they can get a clear problem statement and bring that to our team. Or because they're linked in with us, they'll know what is available and not available, so they might be able to try and guide a little bit too.
Right.
And so so it has been incredible. We're like, they'll end up becoming our like digital impact fellowship alumni. So that's been, I think my biggest thing at the moment is trying to see how we can improve the workforce. But because I lead the Digital Academy in addition to being the CNIO. But then it's also really important to go out onto the shop floor and speak with other teams.
Right.
So I try to go out regularly. And something that's great in our organisation is the senior nursing team that's led by the chief nurse. Every week they have a different theme for the senior staff to go out to different areas and go talk with the clinical teams about how are they finding it, what's the challenge, what's the positive. And it's a different theme all the time, but they all have a digital component to it because everything's digital now.
Right.
And so to do your clinical care right, the digital tools need to be correct. And so it's really great to go out, speak to the team, see what works for them, what isn't working for them, and get that true insight from the users and make sure that what we do is actually user-centered rather than trying to guess what they want instead, right? So I think that's also a really great initiative that the organisation has that really works well. It's that sort of senior visibility to from exec to ward, right? So it's a really great it's a great way to connect with people.
It seems like it. That's really cool. Okay, Jesse, few last questions for you. One, I forgot to ask about your favorite book, either that you've read recently or all time, your choice.
Okay. I guess I'll do both just because it'll be quick. I would say my favorite of all time has to be The Hunger Games.
Oh.
I don't know why, but that was like when I first fell into enjoying reading.
Okay.
And read it so many times. And so when the movies came out, a bit disappointed that they didn't capture everything. But then in terms of what I've recently read, which I found it really sort of insightful, was I forget the author's name, but it's Why Does Everybody Hate Me? And it's about ADHD and rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
Wow.
And it's a great book around understanding their process of dealing with rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and also recognizing that children with ADHD get negative comments 20,000 more times as a child compared to a neurotypical person.
Wow.
Which then leads to that sort of mindset of always a bit anxious about, have you done something wrong or not, because you don't want to upset people. And so the slightest change of something can really trigger you and like really have a big impact. And I think for me, I found it such a great book to read, because actually it allows me to think as a leader, how do I communicate with staff? How do I interact with people so that it's a safe place for them? Because actually I don't know, I don't know people's backgrounds, right? I don't know how people are going to respond to what I say.
Yeah.
And so how can I articulate in a meaningful way to people to ensure that it doesn't come off in a way that they could interpret to be negative?
Right.
And obviously that would be it'll be growth for me, and it'll take time for me to get it right. But I found it like a really like sort of insightful book to support that. And I think even for imposter syndrome, I know they're different, but I do think having that sort of knowledge there, it's how do you give positive feedback to people and recognize people that are doing a good job, so that they can have that support in place. And I think from that book, I kind of understood the importance it can have for so many people, not just with RSD, but actually like with the imposter syndrome, or if they're uncertain about something, praise people, give them that like kudos if they've done well, like celebrate the small wins.
Oh yeah. I mean, in my experience, I mean, so much of our psyche and our adult brain is crafted in those early childhood years, right? So like the fact that like I had no idea, like a kid with ADHD getting insulted or you know, jammed up 20,000 more times than an average kid, right? Like that's so many times, right? Like, I mean, and you know, the way that parents communicate with their children, right? I had a certain type of upbringing, like it was fine, like, but like I had to unwind some stuff, right? And, you know, I have children. I find myself reacting in a moment a certain way, and it's almost like I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's just built into because of how I was raised. And then now I'm talking to a coach, a therapist / coach about like, shit, like I need to, this is the next layer of the onion. Like why am I doing this? And so there's always more work to do, but
oh, for sure.
It's a great book. It sounds like a great book.
It is. And I'm the same. I have a coach as well, and I just find it so useful to have that space of non-bias sort of to be able to talk through things. So I think obviously they're not cheap, but if you've got the opportunity to get one, it's a great thing to have, because especially as you step up in your career into those senior roles, I personally found it really useful to have, because it is a massive change. And so having that sort of unbiased opinion, offering advice and support and giving different tools and techniques, like it's been so valuable for sort of this part of my journey and in my role.
100%. I think, you know, and it just reminds me of another like kind of tool or piece of, you know, advice that I'd have it, which is like, today I'm able to pause. You know, like things are happening very quickly. There's a lot going on in our space, right? In healthcare, within a trust, within a health system, within a business that supports these type of organizations. There's always something going on, whether it's a fire, a project, or this or that. If something comes in, you know, of course, there's certain situations that demand urgency, right? That's not lost on me. But if in the moment, you know, if an email comes in and I feel the response to it flowing off my fingertips, right? Like I can pause for a second today, take a breath, and then have a conversation with someone else. Like sometimes it takes someone else holding up the mirror to notice my blind spot,
Yeah.
right? Or whatever it might be. But I think surrounding yourself with people that you can have those honest conversations with. A coach is also amazing, like you said, if you can do it, or whomever, right? But is a crucial thing as you become more and more responsible for more and more things.
Oh, for sure. I think I'm still learning that whole pausing thing.
Yeah.
I'm very much, if it comes through, I have to respond straight away. The ADHD.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
But it's definitely something I'm trying to work on is actually, do they need a response immediately, or can I actually go away, think about it, get an opinion, and then come back to the... And so, yeah, definitely on that journey.
Well,
I'll let you know next time I see how it's going.
I mean, you've done a lot. I mean, it's been amazing to hear about all this stuff, Jesse.
Thanks.
Last question I have for you is just if you could go back 5, 10, even 15 years in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
I don't know. What would I give myself?
Besides buy Amazon stock.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah, Amazon or Nvidia. That would have been good.
Nvidia,
yeah. Keep it digital. I guess try to just enjoy the journey more, and I'm very much someone that gets in my head a lot, and so I'm like we were just discussing, I'm very reactive, and I think I've still got to where I am despite some of the challenges. I don't need to be so stressed and worried and overthinking it. Whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get there somehow. But just try to enjoy that journey, because there's so many good things that come out of what I've done, but I've sometimes allowed the sort of negative space to take that up.
Sure.
But yeah, so I'd definitely say enjoy the journey, jump at opportunities, say yes to things that you're curious about, and see where it takes you. Because I think having a bit of spontaneity is so needed.
Yeah.
It's so good. But then also, yeah, I guess that would be my main thing is, yeah.
It's great advice. I mean, and I think I've learned. I mean, the journey. I mean, that's life. And I have a colleague in the States. She's our age. She just got diagnosed with breast cancer. I have another colleague. Her husband just died.
Oh, really?
Tomorrow is not guaranteed. I could walk out here today and get hit by a bus. Very possible for me in London because the streets are fucking crazy. But
they go slow at least. So, yeah.
So then I'd get just run over perhaps. But the point is that, life is fleeting. So I want to be grateful. And listen, there a lot of those situations are stressful, and they are a lot to deal with. And so I think it takes what it takes to arrive at a point that I can put that in its right place and be able to manage those types of situations with grace. But I love advising, especially if there are any younger folks listening, how can you work that muscle to get there quicker? So just great advice to end the episode.
And I think there's something that I always hear, I'm probably going to butcher the phrase, but I think it's you fail 100% of the opportunities that you don't take. And I think that's so true. The only person stopping you is yourself. And I think just even if it's something small to begin with, try something new that you've wanted to do, take that next step. Yes, you might get a knockback, but you never know, it could open that door to the next thing for you. And for me, when I came into this role, I kept contemplating, do I go for it? Because I felt it was too senior.
Right.
And so actually it was other people being like, don't be silly, go for it. You're more than capable. But had I have not gone for it, who knows where I'd be now. But I went for it and look where I am now, right? So amazing. I think, yeah, just jump at the opportunities. Yes, you might get some no's, but you never know when you're going to get those yeses. So
100%. Jesse, it was awesome to have you today. Thank you
likewise.
so much.
Cool. Thank you so much as well. It's been great.
Yeah. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.